Good afternoon, everyone. I see you all populating into the session, so thank you for being here. I'm going to give us just another couple of seconds so you can connect your audio. Looks like we have already 84 participants. Excellent. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on the first day of the Virtual Training Institute. My name is Ellen Beatty, and today I have a very exciting session to present to you. I am joined by Rachel Riggs, and she is going to be talking about strategies for engagement in remote face-to-face classes. So before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any technical questions, technical support issues, you are welcome to chat privately with me and we can get those worked out for you. But if you do have comments during Rachel's presentation, we ask that you use panelists and attendees in your to box in the chat room. That way everyone can see your comments. So why don't you go ahead and take a minute and introduce yourself into the chat box. We would love to know where you're from. I see some people from Pennsylvania, all kinds of people from Maryland. We've had a strong showing this morning from Virginia.
Oh, we got New Jersey there, Rhode Island. Oh, I love Providence.
West Virginia. Oh. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so we would love to know what role you play within your program. So I'm going to launch a very quick poll for you. And we're asking, what is your role within your program?
Oh my gosh, I was sitting here clicking, but we can't vote. I just realized that.
All right, looks like with 84 votes, we have the majority ESL instructors followed very closely by ABE instructors. So thank you all for joining us. We are so excited. And with that, I'm going to turn us over to Rachel for strategies for engagement in remote face-to-face classes. Take it away, Rachel.
Thank you, Ellen. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to have you all here. And, you know, we've all been navigating this together, and I love to just continue the conversation and talk about how are we engaging learners right now. So just a little bit about myself. I am the ESL instructional specialist at Frederick Community College. I just started in that position. Prior to that, I was just an adjunct ESL teacher, not just, I mean, that's a big undertaking. And I taught some family literacy, basic ESL classes, and then bridges to various career paths as well. And I have experience teaching all of those remotely, which my experience started in March, like many of you. So all of these strategies that I came up with were all in response to the pandemic. I didn't have any other remote teaching experience prior to that. So that's why I say, you know, we're all in this together, and I'm sure you guys have some great strategies to share as well. I also serve on the board of Maryland TESOL as the Western Maryland Intersection Chair. So today I just want to talk about a couple of these questions. What is engagement? Why is it important? How do I set up my remote class for more engagement? How can I leverage the remote environment for more engagement? And how can I get my students to produce language in class? So my focus is ESL. That's what, you know, my education and experience is in, but I think ABE-GED instructors will also get some ideas from this as well. You know, talk a little bit about strategies that would apply in any context. So what is student engagement? According to the academics, student engagement is when students are behaviorally, emotionally, and cognitively involved in activities. So if we think about, that's when, you know, they're actually doing something in the class, they're feeling excited, or they're feeling some emotion about what they're doing in class, and then they're engaging also their mind and thinking processes in those activities. And what happens when students are engaged, as we could probably all predict, they demonstrate more effort, they experience positive emotions in class, and hallelujah, they pay attention, hopefully. And then also, you know, it's been shown that student engagement does lead to more positive outcomes in terms of both grades and persistence in the program. So the first step to getting students engaged, I mean, there are great activities, there are great websites, there's all of that cool stuff out there to get them engaged. But I think we also need to think about what is the environment when students are coming into our class, and how can we make that environment more, lend itself more to engagement? How can we visually and with auditory, like how can we make that environment conducive to learning and paying attention? So the first thing that I quickly took up when we started in this environment were icons, and I'm now a big icon freak. I put icons on all of my slides. And if you're not familiar with the term icon, I mean, it's just a small picture. And so I will have these small, simple pictures on every slide, and they serve a purpose. The icons are used to indicate either what skill we're focusing on, so maybe speaking, listening, reading, or writing, or what activity we're doing. And the icons are really meant to be a visual prompt to students that show them that with every moment of my lesson, there is something that they should be doing. So even if it's listening, you know, that's active listening. And I just like to use those icons to communicate to them that every part of the lesson is something that they can take part in, and that they should be actively participating and staying engaged with. A couple ideas, and just so you know, I'm going to be sharing strategies, but I also threw in just a couple of tools as well. So I hope that you guys find that useful. And at the end, I will share something with you that will have all the tools in one place so you can go explore. But icons are really easy these days to insert into your slides presentation. So if you use Google Slides, you can just insert image and search the web. And if you just do a search for like writing icon, if you add that word icon at the end, you usually can get some great results, and just insert those into your slides. And then in PowerPoint also, they have the stock images, and there's a section with icons. So they have a huge library in PowerPoint with icons that you can just slip right into your presentation. I also love this website. It's called thenounproject.com. It has tons of icons, but it also has photos, very nice professional looking photos. So, you know, if you're using photos to prompt conversation or things like that, you can find them on this website. And what it does is, it's a free website. You can use all of them. But if you're using the free version, it will actually put an attribution at the bottom so that you're giving credit to whoever the photographer was, or whoever created the icon. So I encourage you to check out that website if you're looking for things to easily plug into your presentations, to show students, you know, what are we doing right now? So here's an example of, sorry, this didn't populate correctly, but this is just an example of a slide that I used with a beginner ESL class, where we actually went over the icons at the beginning of the session. And I would actually review them a couple of times throughout the session so that they knew, okay, if I see this picture, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So we had listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And then I also, you know, we talked about what part of the body are you engaging when you're listening? Your ears, right? And ears is here, but my slide is a little messed up. And then what part of the body are you engaging when you're reading? So what part of the body is reading? Eyes, right? What part of the body is speaking? Mouth. What part of the body is writing? Hand. And just by associating those with parts of the body, I just wanted them to realize that this is, you know, this is something they can take part in. I don't want them to have their phone set up there with their video off and they're, you know, off doing the dishes or something. This is something that they should be actively participating in. There's ears. It came. I'm sure you guys have those same kinds of little slip ups when you're teaching, right? So this is another slide that I used with my beginner ESL class, and it's just a basic drill. So I would, show them first, okay, we're going to listen, right? This is another example with the icons. We're going to listen, get your ears ready. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so we were just doing a little drill with the days of the week. And I wanted them to really listen to my pronunciation of those words. And now we're going to repeat. So you can see I just changed the icon to the speaking icon, and Sunday, Monday, I hope you guys are repeating right now. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Another thing that I think can help students stay engaged, and I've been increasingly reading a lot of literature and research around this concept of using very simple presentations and simple slides and not putting too much content onto a slide when you're sharing your screen in a class. I don't have all of that plugged into the presentation, but there is a lot out there about how, if you're engaging your eyes in one activity, it's harder for you to be engaging your ears and listening to what people are saying. So, it's very important to keep your slides very simple, especially when we're talking about English language learners, because depending on where their strengths are, they could be spending a lot of time trying to decode what's written on the screen, and not listening to what you're saying, and vice versa. If you're wanting them to read, but you're talking, they might be trying to figure out what you're saying rather than reading. So think about how they're engaging those different skills, and how that's going to affect their learning. So maybe on a slide, we don't write all kinds of instructions like, write this in your notebook, make sure you highlight the important facts and blah, da, 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 da. That might actually just be distracting for them, and they may not be taking in the actual target language that you're trying to present to them. So just thinking about how to use simple slides. Yeah, those are your vitamins. Sorry, guys. Yes. Okay, sorry, guys. I've got a kindergartner here. Let me give him his vitamin. This is important too for education. Okay, go downstairs. All right, so I use the icons to, give that same kind of instruction, but then I just use a very simple slide, like I eat breakfast in the morning, right? If I'm talking about beginners, I don't want them to be reading through, listen and please write this in your notebook. And my name is Rachel Riggs, and it's so nice to have you in my class. I don't want them to be reading and trying to figure out all that text. I want them to focus on the sentence, on the color coding of my verb phrase here, on the picture that's indicating that it's breakfast and giving them some reference there. I don't know who's eating chocolate covered strawberries for breakfast, but I'm jealous. So this is an example slide, and I wanted to show you guys also just how how I make these really quickly in Google Slides. So typically I would have, if we're talking about routines, I would have a whole maybe 12 of these slides where they're learning the vocabulary for different routines and also, some time expressions. So if you use Google Slides or even in PowerPoint, you can duplicate these slides very quickly. So I just right click on it, I click duplicate, and now I can change the sentence. Okay, so what else do I do in the morning? Maybe I brush my teeth in the morning. Okay, so now I've already got a second sentence in there. I can click on the image and replace image, search the web. And I'm just gonna do a quick brushing teeth search. And I'm sorry if you're really fluid in Google Slides, I'm sorry, but I think this is important for some people. And I just click replace. And now I've got a good next slide, right? So if you can use those quick steps that duplicate, replace, and you can make a whole set of these pretty quickly, because I know the issue with simple slides sometimes is that you don't want to take the time to be creating so many slides. But with that duplicate feature, we can make them quickly and keep them nice and simple for our beginner learners, or all of our learners, just to lower the cognitive load of a slide. Okay, so I also wanted to show you guys another thing that is important when we talk about simple slides is the fact that we have students who are on different devices, many of which are on mobile phones, and it can be really difficult, not just difficult, but it's, I guess, I want to say boring maybe for them to be staring at their screen at just tons of text. It can be a little maybe overwhelming. So I wanted to show you guys this cool new feature that I just learned on how you can use Google Chrome to see how your screen actually looks on different devices. Now, I just learned this, so if I do it wrong, be gracious. The first step is to click the little 3 dots right here that say Customize and Control Google Chrome, and we want to go to More Tools and Developer Tools, because we're all web developers here, right? And then if you look up here, guys, you're going to see a little phone next to a tablet. I know it's so super tiny, but if you click on that, now I was already in that view, so it already gave it to me, but if you click on that, it's going to allow you to choose different devices so you can see how whatever you're doing on your Google Slides, how it's going to look on different devices. So I could choose like the Galaxy S5 and it's going to change it for me. And you can actually click too, and it will show you if you click on different slides. Okay. So I clicked there and it shows me what it looks like there. And you can just click right in here to see how things are looking on students' devices if they're using mobile phones or otherwise. So I just learned that and I thought it was really helpful because I am always wondering, okay, are my slides, is the font big enough? Are they going to be able to see this? Is it going to be overwhelming looking on such a small screen? So using icons and using simple slides are 2 ways to keep students engaged during your lesson visually, right? So we're not overwhelming them. We're giving them little indicators of how they can participate and how they are supposed to be participating in whatever activity we're doing. I also have found that it's super important to manage your classroom in terms of the audio in a virtual setting because you guys know, you guys have been doing this since March. You know the one student who always unmutes themselves. The one student who always has the TV running in the background, right? You guys know what I'm talking about here. So we have to master the mute button, not because we don't want to hear from students, but on the contrary, we want to hear from students and we are worried that they may not stay engaged if all that they're hearing throughout our lesson is background noise from another student in the class, okay? So this is super important. It's gonna seem counterintuitive. We're muting students to keep them engaged, but yeah, I think it's an important part of keeping them engaged. Oh my gosh, and I just blabbed on before I asked you guys to give your input. So if you guys could let me know, how do you think mastering the mute button could lead to more engagement? Or do you think that? Are you guys able to see the poll information there? I don't see it. No. Uh-oh, okay, we're just playing. We're just playing now. No, stop. Okay, sorry guys. Give me a second here. I'm gonna go back to the poll and I'm gonna click present and it should populate with the link up here. Let's see, come on. Are you guys seeing the link? I'm not seeing it, but maybe it's just not showing it to me. Okay, there it is. There it goes. There's the link. The link is there. So if you go to poll.ev.com/RachelRiggs893 and enter, oh no, if you go there, you don't have to enter a code, but you can also text if you want to join the poll. Yes, Lisa brings up a good point. It's important for engagement that students know how to mute and unmute, and it's important for them to know whether they are muted or unmuted. That is all very important, right? If students are talking and we're not responding to anything they're saying, they're going to be a little less likely to participate. Okay, let's see. Muting all but the current speaker eliminates audio echoing. That's, yes, Thomas, exactly. We want to get rid of that background noise for engagement because we want them to stay engaged. Yeah, sometimes other students will chime in. So yeah, it helps people talk. It focuses attention, less distractions. Yeah. Yes, you want to make sure not everyone is speaking at once. Making sure people aren't overstimulated or zoning out. Yes, thank you guys. Sometimes two students in the same room are in class. Yes, if you've run into that problem, that is such a sticky situation because of all that feedback that happens. I've had that problem many times. I mostly have it with my grandparents who both always join the Zoom call on their own devices when they're in the same room. I'm like, please, just one device. Okay, yes, more focus. Yes, there's more focus for students to discuss their thoughts, more opportunities to take turns, equal opportunity. Make sure students can take turns without getting interrupted. Yes, great. Yes, so I think we're on the same page. I have a bad attention span as an instructor. Yes, so it helps you stay engaged. Perfect. Helps more timid students to feel like they can talk if everyone isn't just constantly unmuted, right? So I don't know what platforms you guys are using, but on Zoom you can mute all, right? And you can determine whether you want to allow students to mute or unmute. So it may seem like a dictatorship if you're not allowing students to unmute, but if they're doing listening practice and they're English language learners, please don't allow other people to unmute so that everyone can hear what's going on. And then, just as we would in a normal classroom, you're managing your classroom and you're doing that so that everyone can participate. All right, thank you everyone for sharing. I'm glad we're all on the same page about the old mute button. And I want to emphasize, we do it so that people can participate, not to silence anyone. So this is an example just of an instructional slide that I use to teach my students what the mute button is, how to use it, and then also that key part of knowing whether they're muted or unmuted. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Kim. Muting and unmuting are equally important. We want there to be community. And so it's just finding those times, right? Times when it's appropriate for people to be muted or when it's appropriate for everyone to be able to share freely. Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah, Cheryl, I also like empowering the students to control their mute and unmute process. Sometimes I've found that if I have a student with low English literacy or English proficiency and low digital literacy, it's difficult for them to manage that on their own. And so for the sake of the class, I will take control, but I would always prefer that students have the agency to mute and unmute themselves and also just to know when that's appropriate as part of building their digital literacy. So thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so that goes over setting up visually and auditorily how to set up your remote class environment. Now I want to talk a little bit about leveraging the remote environment. There are a lot of negatives about a remote face-to-face class, but there are an equal amount of positives and an equal amount of opportunities that it lends us in the classroom. And I want to talk about some of those. The first one is Hanswers. So, Hanswers is exactly what it sounds like. It's students giving answers with their hands. And I think it's a great engagement strategy for, like we just talked about, if we have our whole class muted, well, how can we still engage them when they're muted? We can engage them physically, right? We can have them indicate the answers with their hands or with their heads or, however you want to do it with a sign that they can hold up. But if we can put those students in gallery mode and get them all engaged, even while they're muted, I think it's also can be a very fun thing for them to participate in. So the benefits of Hanswers is that, you can get all students engaged without them interrupting one another. It's adaptable to any kind of activity. You have lots of options in terms of what questions you want to ask and what kinds of responses you want to get from students. And then also you can differentiate with using countdown. So if you have a group of really strong students, and if we unmute everyone and ask a question, we know I'm sorry, if we have a group of mixed ability, right, and we unmute everyone, we know those strong students are going to be the first to respond, and they're going to kind of monopolize the whole thing. If we use answers, we can keep everyone muted, and we can put everyone in gallery view so we see all of their faces, and we can count down, right? So ready, set, show your answers, okay? And then that way, our lower students can have the chance to really think and process the information and think about their answer without immediately being told the answer by a stronger student. Now, I realize too, that yes, and Kaylee is it. I think Kaylee just brought it up in the chat box. Having students who have their cameras off. I know that that's a difficult thing. So I would always provide an option, right? So if someone doesn't want to have their camera on, say if you don't want to turn your camera on, you can put it in the chat box. Or whatever other method that you want them to use to get the answer to you. Give them an alternative, but also I think the more that we do these kinds of engaging things, the more students do want to have their camera on so that they can participate. So the hope there is that maybe it will look so fun and you'll be talking like this and you'll be like, ready, set, go. And everybody will be like, oh, let me turn my camera on so I can participate. That might be high hopes, but that's what I'm going for. But yeah, that's an issue. We don't want to force students to have their cameras on, but the more engaging our class is and the more community building we do in our class, the more I think students are comfortable with that. So just think about how we can do that. Yeah, thank you, Heather. It helps with number skills, focusing, listening skills. Marcia says, I allow students to point cameras to their heads and they seem to lower them as they're more comfortable. That's a great strategy too, Marcia. Tell students it doesn't have to be on their face, right? They could actually, for answers, just put it on their hand and they don't have to show their face at all. So give them kind of different strategies for how they can position their camera and also model that for them. So show them, like, okay, you guys don't have to put your face in the camera. You can just hold up your hands, right? Show them how that's possible. So again, these are just example slides. This is my instructional slide for use your fingers to show what number the conversation is. And this is an example of how I use answers in a listening activity. So this image was taken from Cambridge Ventures Presentation Plus. Sorry, you can barely see that text down there. And the audio will play different conversations, and the goal is to identify which routine activity he is engaging in. So I would have my students in gallery view so I can see everyone. And I've told them we're going to play answers. So we would listen to the conversation. I have everyone muted, of course. Everyone's muted. We listen to the conversation and I say, okay, which picture? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Another example with a little bit of a higher level class doing some grammar practice. With this, it was really important to me because I was trying to do a little bit of informal assessment of students, and I really didn't want those strong students to overwhelm the conversation. So I had, it was just a fill in the blank with multiple choice, and I was kind of keeping track of which students were still struggling. And I used this little think bubble to keep the stronger students to just like stay down for a minute. I would say, wait, think, just giving those lower level students an opportunity. Think. And then when I clicked, it showed the hands. I said, okay, go. What's your answer? So, you might want to think about how can you get people to slow down so that others have a little bit of time. Another example of a way to do that is to use a timer. Again, super easy to put a timer in Google Slides. Just insert video and do a Google search for 20-second timer and it'll be there, I promise. Maybe not if it was like 27 seconds, but they've got like from 20 seconds to 15 minutes to an hour. They've got all kinds of timers on YouTube that you can just quickly insert into a Google slide. So here I used a timer and I just said, okay, everybody wait. And when you hear the timer, give your answer. And I would play the timer and then at the end, they would give their answers. Okay, Jesse, good point. Thank you for bringing that up. You know, people from different countries will use different fingers for counting. So, you know, these little pictures I use, these are just examples, right? It doesn't, as long as they have the number of fingers up, it doesn't matter which fingers. Thanks for pointing that out, Jesse. Oh, I like Llama's suggestion as well, recommending that they sit with their back against a wall so that you can't see all of their personal space. That's what I do. Although you can see my mistletoes there. Okay, so in addition to, you know, a lot of things got more difficult when we went remote, but some things got more fun. And I think Realia is one of those areas that has gotten just way more fun now that we are in a remote environment and everybody's in their personal space and they've got everything right around them. So we can tell students to go grab this, go grab that, or we ourselves can be showing students different things in our houses. So think about how can you use your own belongings, everything that you have around you, to teach vocabulary or to elicit authentic language. So how can we use a cultural artifact to prompt discussion on different cultures? And using our own items as teachers to model how students, you know, like a Realia activity that we want students to do. So an example that I did one time, it was for a beginner class, and I wanted them to talk about a picture that they had in their house of their family. We were studying present continuous, I think, and family members. So I had them, when I talk about modeling, what I did was I got up, I went and I found my picture and I brought it here and I said, okay, this is a picture of my family. My son is smiling. My husband is standing. Okay. And I just kind of talked through and I modeled that first. And then I said, okay, now you guys go find a picture in your house and tell us who's in the picture and what are they doing. And this can be used in so many different ways. You could be talking about kitchen cleaning supplies, right? Vocabulary, and holding those up to the camera and eliciting vocabulary responses from your own items. I think it's a fun way to get away from the PowerPoint presentations constantly, right? To actually have no screen sharing going on and people just looking at faces. And I think students also love to see like what teachers have, you know, like I had these funny pink glasses one time and I was like, these are my glasses, and they just got a kick out of that. So it's community building and it's engaging. One time I carried my laptop to my refrigerator and we had a conversation about what was in my refrigerator. And then I had them go and make videos about what was in their refrigerator. So just some ideas. Let's really leverage the fact that students are in their environment with all of their stuff around to create conversation and language practice and community building. Oops, I clicked on the image, sorry. Oh gosh, now I clicked on the tab, sorry. The clicking dilemma. Okay, I'm trying not to click on this image again. Oh, I did it again. Let me go to the next one first, and then we'll try to make it full screen. Okay, here we go. We got it. Okay, so in the remote environment, we also need to think about how can we use movement. So, I mean, with answers, it's a little bit of a physical response, right? But it's not so much movement. I was teaching 3-hour classes at night, which many of our instructors at FCC do. And I had one student who was in his bed on his mobile phone, and I could see him when he was dozing off, which is not a great feeling for any teacher. So I started incorporating just a lot more movement into my lessons. We started doing charades with different vocabulary words, and then stretch breaks. So I would throw in stretch breaks maybe every 10 slides in my presentation, or, you know, in different intervals throughout the class. I think this is really important for our students. They're like focusing on the screen for so long. So try to get them moving around, especially if you have longer classes, like a 3-hour class. So this was just my slides. I used charades. We're going to play charades. You see a word and you do the action. Simple language so they could understand the instructions. So sore throat. I wish I had y'all's videos on. I can't see anybody, but just what would you do if you saw a sore throat, right? Maybe touch your throat. And so I've got everybody in gallery view and I'm kind of seeing, okay, Luis, okay, he's touching his ear. He thinks this is earache, so that he's not getting the vocabulary. You know, always use that gallery view for a little bit of a quick assessment tool. And then I would show them the picture. Okay, sore throat, it's this here, it's your throat. So that's a little fun way to engage them physically. And then stretch breaks. Like I said, I just put them throughout and I make them silly. And I try to think of ways that I can include even some little language lessons in our stretch breaks by repeating idioms or doing like rhymes together. That's fun. Do tongue twisters while you're stretching, or memorize the words that you hear while you're stretching. And then we would sit down and I would have them type them into the chat box. So just think of like, what are some fun ways I can incorporate language practice into our stretch breaks? This one, stand still. What does stand still mean? It means not moving. So I was just trying to teach them that phrase while we were all, you know, moving. Here's just another one. Move your arms, wake up, just using little silly gifts, breaking up that lesson a little bit, refreshing our brains. Okay, so how can we, this is another thing I've heard a lot from different instructors and stuff, how can we get students to talk and how can we get students to write during class? I think those are two big challenges, getting students to produce language during class. And like we talked about, even with the mute button and the videos on and off, it gets a little more complicated to get students talking and writing and producing their own language. So a couple ideas for getting students to talk and write, using role play. This is an old ESL classic, right? A role play is just when you are having students fill different roles in kind of like a mini skit type thing. So if you're doing a unit on groceries, maybe you would have someone be a cashier and someone's a customer. So online or remote role playing becomes a little more complicated because, well, I don't know, everything seems to be a little bit more complicated in this environment. But I noticed when I started trying to do role plays that it took so much more finessing than it ever did in a face-to-face classroom, because we were just missing that energy of just being together and playing off of one another's I don't know, just energy. I don't know how else to explain it. So I started putting a lot more lead up in my role plays with images and storytelling. And then I would scaffold them more with having them write the conversations first, using conversation frames with blanks to prompt them. And then I would differentiate by ordering, putting them in a certain order, going from, you know, higher level students to lower level students, so that the lower level students are seeing a lot of modeling before they're asked to speak. And then also cross ability pairing. So having the higher level student prompt the conversation and the lower level student respond, usually is a good way in a role play to differentiate according to their abilities. So some of this is, you know, it's like, oh, well, duh, I've always done that. But it does take on a different form in the remote environment. And I would say like one of the biggest things is this context building piece. So here's another just example. This also was taken from the Ventures books, but like I said, with Google, with the Noun Project, with all of those amazing tools, you can easily find an image that's going to get your students into that frame of mind that you want them to be in. So also using words like imagine, right? We really want to build up for them that this is an imaginary thing. We're about to be acting. We're about to be taking part in something creative. Get them kind of in that silly, relaxed mode to be able to do that. So imagine you are the parent of a teenager. What is it like? So here we're building the context. We're thinking about different emotions or different memories that being the parent of a teenager might prompt. And then I, gave them a situation. Again, using my icons. You're writing now. You're writing. Your teacher is late coming home from school. You are worried. In your notebook, write 3 indirect questions to ask your teenager when they get home. So this is the lead up, and I'm going to have them write things down before I ask them to participate in the role play. There's an example. And now, using imagery to get them in that state of mind, right? We're in the theater. We're in the theater, everyone. We're pretending. Student A is the parent, asking direct questions, and student B, you're the teenager, answer the questions. So this might be a good time to throw them in their breakout rooms and have them practice if that's how you want to do it. I always think it's better to do it a couple times all together, right? And then maybe put them in breakout rooms if you want to. And then I give a little example. And when I give the example, I like to be very theatrical myself, because again, we want to show them we're in a different world. And I want you guys to stay engaged in my online lesson. So I'm going to be like, I would like to know who you were with. Mom, I was with my friend. Relax. With your friend. Well, so I try to give a model of really silly things, so everybody's kind of lowering that affective filter and feeling a little more comfortable to do something that's imaginary. So that's role plays. And then by the time we get to situation 3, I'm having them create the situation and write their indirect questions about whatever situation that they have created. Lots of examples too. A couple of tips for using role play in breakout rooms, because I know, breakout rooms, are they doing it or are they not? I saw someone give a recommendation to Zoom once that was like, can you please put like windows on my screen to each breakout room so I can see what's actually going on in each breakout room? Wouldn't that be amazing? So breakout rooms, how do we know what's happening? My suggestions are to really build up that context together, have some discussion together, go through some examples together, allow the students to write down some kind of support that they will have in the breakout room. So I always tell my students to have a notebook and a pencil. We're not too tech crazy that we can't still write on paper. So have a notebook and a pencil, write down the frame or write down the situation so that you have that when I put you into your breakout rooms. Or, of course, once they go in the breakout rooms, you can have someone go to Google Classroom or whatever you want to do. And then, of course, always require that students come back to class and say something about what happened in the breakout room. If they always know that that's going to happen, then, the next couple of times they're going to be like, oh my gosh, teacher's going to ask me about this. I better do something here. All right. Finally, student videos. I always love to use videos as much as I can in classes, especially my ESL classes, because students are not getting that speaking practice outside of class, even less so now because some of them are working from home or not working at all or not going to the grocery store. So we've got to think about how are we getting students to practice at home, and then even how can we use those videos to make our lessons more engaging. So I love to use video journals, having students just record. Like I said, I would take my laptop to the fridge, show them what's in my fridge, and then their video journal homework would be to, show us what's in your fridge and make some sentences and talk about what's in your fridge using your food vocabulary or whatever. Interviews with family members and friends. I love this idea for right now when everybody's feeling isolated. Interview your kindergartner on how he likes virtual kindergarten. And then you could also, give them a prompt. So, how do you feel about Christmas trees? Okay. Whatever. You guys know what prompts are, right? Give them a prompt. So then they do their video journal according to whatever question you ask. So then it's just more of just them talking. And then, so how can we use those video journals in class? You could have the students create a video journal, make sure you check with them and make sure they're okay with it, but then share it during class. I was doing a bridge to trades class, and we actually had a student who worked as a welder. And so he would make me little videos every week. So then I would use those videos to show the class what he did in his welding job. So it was like, wonderful. I was like free material from a student. And it also for him was, you know, something that I'm sure made him very proud. And it was something a little more engaging for the other students because they knew him. So think about, as students are making videos and sending them to you, how could I incorporate this into a lesson? We could use it as listening practice, have them pull out like a summary of the video. We could have students show their videos, you know, maybe they're giving like a little how-to tutorial or something, and then allow the other students to ask questions afterward. But think about how you can pull that into your lesson for something that's a little engaging, and again, some community building. There's Flipgrid, that's blurry. I don't know if everyone's familiar with Flipgrid, but it's a website where you post a video with a topic, and then you can easily share it with students and they can respond with their own short videos. So I love that for speaking practice because it's pretty simple for them to use. It just, they follow a link and then they can sign in with their Google or Microsoft accounts and respond to whatever you said in your topic. So fun little plug for Flipgrid. In-class writing, this is something I've gotten a lot of questions about, something I think a lot of people are struggling with right now. Do I have them write in their notebook? Do they have them, you know, it's like, it's hard to decide how we should be executing the writing right now. So 2 ideas, one for collaborative writing, and I actually have both of these in some slides that I'm going to share with you guys with like step-by-step instructions. But for collaborative writing, think about using Google Docs. If you use Google Classroom, you can assign a copy to each student, or you can just have one copy that the students all collaborate on together, a live document during class. And if you share your screen, you can actually, you know, everybody can be seeing everyone's changes. Well, even if you don't share your screen, if they're in the document, they'll see people's changes. So that's an idea for collaborative writing. For individual writing, you can use WhatsApp if you have students who, you know, maybe you're not using Google Classroom, or you have students who really are not able to use technology very well. If they have WhatsApp, have them write in their notebook. Remember, we can still use paper and send you a picture, and then use markup. There's a tool in WhatsApp, and like I said, I'll send you guys the instructional slides step by step, but there's a tool in WhatsApp where you can mark up a picture that someone sends you. So you can use that to circle things, to cross things out, to give little notes, to put stickers on it. So think about, how can I use that if students give me a piece of writing in a photo? How can I give them feedback with markup? And then you can even, there's a WhatsApp desktop application. So if you download that, then you can present the writing that people are sending you simultaneously, like in class. So as they're sending you pictures, you can pull them up on your computer screen, and you could be using Annotate and having students kind of peer assess one another, or different interactive things. So yeah, that's with WhatsApp, you would have to have it on your phone. It shows people's phone numbers. So share a portion of your screen, right? Not your whole message thread over here. Just share a portion of your screen that will show the picture. But think about privacy and concerns like that if you're using WhatsApp. But you have to have it on your phone, and then you download it on your computer. And that's how you can get your messages to come to your computer so that you could present the images as students are sending them. Couple ideas for writing. So this is for you guys to view the resources from today's presentation. There's not tons of them, but just in case you were wondering where some of those links or anything were coming from, I'm going to put the link in the chat box as well, or you can scan the QR code. And that is all I have for today. The link is in the chat. And these are some ways that you can get in touch with me. I'm going to pull up the Q&A, or I don't know, Ellen, did you want to do that? I haven't been able to pull it up yet.
Sure, Rachel. Let me see if there's any questions. most recently? One from Jennifer. Rachel, if you have time, could you please run through again some of the tools you're using regarding building a slide? For
Yeah.
example, when you build the brushing teeth slide.
Yeah, sure, Jennifer. I'll go through that one more time. So it's just, it's called duplicate is the first thing you want to do. So you want to right click on a slide and duplicate. And then within that slide, if you have a picture and you want to quickly replace it, you just right click on that picture and replace image. And it will give you the options. You can upload from your computer, you can search the web, search your drive, search Google Photos, use a URL, or use your camera. So, you know, if you wanted to put a selfie in there, you totally could. So I just want to go back up to the sentence and show you, it really helps when we're talking about, like, when we have stuff color coded like this, if I just duplicate it, you know, it keeps all that formatting intact. So I don't have to go back and change the font color and all of that. So I duplicate and then replace images. Okay, I thought, was there something else here? Oh, someone asked me to display the QR code again. I will go ahead and do that. Give that a second to load. Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you found it practical. If you have more ideas, please email me. I would love to hear all of y'all's ideas too. I know we're all just working together on this, trying to become the best virtual versions of ourselves. Okay, Ellen is putting the feedback survey and the participation, proof of participation stuff in the chat too. Thank you, Ellen.
Of course. Thank you, Rachel. This has been a fantastic presentation. Yes, I saw practical and relevant and just so engaging. So thank you so much. It's,
of course,
as you mentioned, it's been a transition for all of us. And I just encourage us to continue to do the best we can to keep our students engaged. So thank you so much for directly supporting that call to action. So 100 participants viewed your presentation today, Rachel. So I think that just speaks volumes to how much people really do have a sincere desire to engage with their students in this new virtual face-to-face setting. So thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much, participants. Please keep an eye out for day 2. We're going to get started tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Thank you all for participating. The survey, I'll put it in there one more time. The survey is for us. We continually like improvement around the Virtual Training Institute. So any feedback you have, we welcome with open arms. You will also see the proof of participation link many other times this week. We ask that you complete that only once after you've listened to all of the sessions that you plan to this week. Do you have a certificate that we can get? Yes, that's Gail. That's the proof of participation certificate that we have at the end of the Virtual Training Institute. All right. Well, we do have a couple of last minutes. So if anyone has any other questions for Rachel while you have her full attention.
Yes, I'm answering some in the Q&A. So Susanna asked for charades, do you send students individual chat? Susanna, I don't send an individual chat. What I do is I put the vocabulary word on the screen. So they're reading the vocabulary word, and I have them all in gallery view. So I can see all of their videos. And so I can see what motion they're doing for charades. And then I will reveal the answer. I guess what you're saying, I see what you're saying though. You're supposed to, like, one person is supposed to have a word for charades. So maybe I'm doing some weird iteration of charades. But yeah, you could do that. You could do that where you like private chat one student the word and then they act it out and then other students guess. Actually, I love that idea. I don't know why I never thought of that. Thank you, Susanna. Kara said, do you ever use an online whiteboard? Yes, I use the Zoom whiteboard all the time. If that's what you're referring to, I use where you can share screen and use a whiteboard. I also use the annotate feature constantly. Brianna said, how do you navigate to the developer function to view the preview of phone devices? Brianna, you have to be in Google Chrome. I don't know how to do it in other web browsers, although I'm sure there's a way. So you have to be in Google Chrome, and you go to these little 3 dots here. Looks like a little snowman. And then you go down to more tools, developer tools. And I think there may be a video of this on my Wakelet that I provided. If not, I will try to add one. So little snowman, more tools, developer tools, and then here you're gonna see like a phone and a tablet that's indicating different devices. So you wanna click on that, and then on this menu, you can click different devices if you wanna see them. So let's go to an iPhone 10. That's what it's gonna look like on an iPhone 10. You can actually rotate the device too, so I can see what it's going to look like in a landscape view if my students rotate their device. And then I can zoom in and out. So just a couple of little fun things you can do there to get a good sight of what students are seeing.
A question, Rachel, about how you put a GIF into a Google slide.
Okay, we're gonna get technical here, guys. So to put a GIF into, or GIF, or whatever you call it, I don't ever know what to call it, into a Google slide, I create them with a little screen recording, and then I use Giphy. On Giphy, you can upload a video and turn it into a GIF. And so then I will just download that to my computer and then put it into the Google slide. But you know what I'm gonna do? The Wakelet that I shared with you with resources, I'm gonna add some instructions there because I'm not sure that I'm giving the full like step-by-step in a way that's gonna be comprehensible. So let me write that down. I'm gonna add GIF to Google slide instructions to that Wakelet. So that will appear by COB today, ladies and gentlemen.
And then almost a follow-up to that question, Rachel, but where do you get some of your GIFs or your GIFs? Do you subscribe to a service?
I like I said, I use Giphy a lot, giphy.com. It has a library of them, but I also love to add, like if you guys saw my, let me get out of this developer tools craziness. If you guys saw my noun project kind of thing, that was a GIF that I had created where it's me scrolling through the website, just as a little animated image there. I do that a lot for students, especially if I'm asking them to navigate to different websites and stuff. So I use a screen recording service, like there's Screencastify. I use this one that I think it's called Awesome Screenshot, and it's a Google extension. So I can easily just screen grab whatever I'm doing, and that creates a video. And so then I go to Giphy and I can upload my video and turn it into a GIF. So there are lots of different services for screen grabbing and lots for converting videos into GIFs. So just find the ones that work for you. And that's all free. I don't pay for any of that. I hope I answered that okay. Okay, Kaylee, I guess just tried out the developer tools thing on Microsoft Edge, and she said it's the same. So thank you, Kaylee. Okay, any more questions? I'm happy to stick around until top of the hour. I'd be happy to stay longer even. Okay, how do you spell Giphy? Let me just type it in here so I can make sure I've got, yeah, just Giphy.com, GIPHY.com. And this is what it looks like. So if you want to create your own, you're going to have to make an account. If not, I believe you can just still look through their whole library and do whatever you want. So here I can upload, right? If I want to upload my own video, or I can create, and I think I want to upload usually. Yeah, I will usually upload. I think this is like from their own images and stuff. So I want to upload my own video to create my own GIF if I've done a screenshot or something. So there's the upload button right here. And like I said, there's tons of these. I don't even know if this is like the best one. It's just like the first one that I settled on. So if anyone else makes gifts in their spare time and you want to throw that in the chat box, that'd be great.
Well, Rachel, this has been fantastic. I think we might have to get you a crown for the new queen of educational technology. So thank you so much. I know that I echo all over 100 participants today when I say thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your always willingness to share with others. So.
Yeah, I just want to answer Lily Beth really quick. She asked, when she's annotating, she loses her cursor. Lily Beth, on annotate, look all the way to the, oops, there I go, I'm so good at it. Look all the way to the left of that toolbar and there's a mouse button. So click on the mouse button to get your cursor back, right? And then you can click on text if you want to start typing again, or you can click on draw if you want to start circling again. But there's a button that says mouse, and that's how we get our cursor so that we're not marking all over the screen. Just wanted to answer that because I've gone through that struggle myself. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. It was great chatting with you. I hope you all have a great day.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.